Alright. Just gonna do a quick unboxing video here. I got a little something in the mail today. Came with the card. Turn on infinite wonderfulness. I don't know if wonderfulness is a word. I guess it might be. I don't know. But turn on infinite wonderfulness from Kailh. So this came with something I ordered. It's kind of cool. It's a new, let me tone that down a little bit. So it's a new type of switch that I got to try out from Kailh. Here, let me. This black desk mat is just a little too intense, so let me just remove that and go to my work surface instead. There, that should be a little bit better. But let's see here. Let's see, what did I do? Unlock that. There. Why is it so dark? Having technical difficulties here. Let me try this again. What did I do? What did I do wrong here? It's a new setup. So, it's a bit of a learning curve here. Let's do that. Okay, so I got these Kailh switches to check out. Now, this is a new type of Kailh switch that I don't think any of the vendors are selling this one yet. It's kind of interesting. And I'll show you what I think is cool about it. It is a box switch. It's a type of Kailh BOX switch, which some people like them, some people don't. And then there's a tactile switch. Don't know what I'm going to find when I open this. I've never received this type of a packaging from Kailh before. It's kind of fancy. Pretty neat. Let's look up close here. These are called Kailh BOX crystal switches. Now, something cool about these that I haven't seen before, coming from Kailh, is they're a box switch that's PCB mount, which is cool because all the other box switches before now have been just plate mount. And these are a tactile switch. They they feel like they have a pretty sharp tactile bump to them. Let's take a look at what kind of a bump they have here. Now the bottom housing material is also new. It's a clear material instead of the typical black or white plastic that they've used in the past for the switch bottoms. So that's something new, kind of cool. They feel pretty good. Let me see how they feel in a switch tester. So I've got a Royal right here, a box Royal for comparison. Holy moly. So one thing I can tell you right away is Kailh has gone the high tactility route with these. I think these probably have their stronger leaf, the leaf that they use for the Royals. because these have a really strong tactile bump. The tactile event feels just, I mean, I have to say it feels like a Royal. Interesting. Feels like a box Royal to me. We got to take a look here. We got to crack one of these open and see what's going on in here. But smoothness wise, it feels a little bit smoother. It's a little hard for me to tell. It's a little hard for me to judge the smoothness because the tactile bump is so intense. It's kind of like hard to feel anything else, but I think it feels a little bit smoother. And that might be maybe by virtue of the different type of plastic that they used in the lower housing. So we've seen that trick before with Zelios, where he uses the clear plastic that seems to be more slippery. And that might have been what they were going for here. I don't know. Compared to Holy Panda, I mean, it's really different. That's like the standard question, right? How is it compared to Holy Panda? But it's, I mean, it feels like a box Royal to me. So I would say maybe more tactile than a Holy Panda, but a less rounded bump, feels like. So I have some Holy Pandas here. Grab one. Let's see, it is forget. These are either Holy something or other. These are either original Holy Pandas or these might be the Holy Jesus. I don't remember if these are the OGs. Oh, these are the OG Holy Pandas from back in the day. So yeah, a lot less rounded, a lot sharper bump than the Holy Panda. It's almost like, you know, the Holy Panda has kind of a rounded bump, whereas this one is sharper. It feels almost like a clicky switch, and actually also more tactile. So the box crystal feels more tactile to me. It's a more intense tactility, depending on how you define more tactile, I guess. But just the intensity of what it takes to get over the tactile bump feels stronger on the box crystal switch. I think if I had to choose one or the other, I would still definitely, personally, I would prefer the Holy Panda if I had to pick one. But I actually usually go with a switch that's even less tactile than Holy Pandas, so probably if I had to pick one, I would pick neither. But yeah, if I had to go with either this or Holy Panda, I probably like the Holy Panda better still. But these are interesting though. They might have some modding potential too. You know, the lower housing is clear and PCB mount, and that's kind of cool. That means you could build a plateless keyboard with box switches, which normally would be kind of crazy. But let's take a look up close at this stem here. Let's see what's going on with this stem. I suspect it's probably going to be pretty much the same thing as like a box Royal, but if I can get my camera to focus, oh, that would be great. There it is. Huh. Interesting. I'm not 100% sure if that bump looks the same as a Royal. So Let me grab one of my box royals here. Looks like some factory lube here on some parts of the stem, particularly the bump of the stem appears to have been lubed. So I'll just set that here for now. We'll compare, see how it looks compared to a royal stem. Looks exactly the same to me. And that doesn't surprise me because it feels the same. So, I think what I would do with these is, if I build a keyboard with them, which I probably will, but I think what I would do with these is take like a, oh, never mind. This is a box white. Let me see here. I have some Hakko switches here. I have some Hakko clears. So I think what I'll end up doing with these switches is, I think I'll take a Hakko stem and put it in this housing. Because then I'll get basically I'll end up with a Hakko Royal that's also PCB mount and has the clear housing. So that would be pretty cool, if you ask me. So let me just try that real quick and see how that works out. See if that feels good. So here's a Hakko stem. So you can see what we're dealing with here. So as you can see, rather than a more sharp, more triangular shape of the bump, the Hakko stem has a more rounded stem, a bump that almost looks more like a sine wave instead of, like, if you look at the, it's almost like a little yin-yang looking sine wave instead of being triangular. So that gives it that fuller, rounder feel. Some people like the sharper bump. I personally like that more rounded bump shape. I think it's kind of cool that the box crystals have a nice looking gold-plated spring. Not sure if I'm going to keep that spring though, because it's a little heavy for my taste. The switch top looks normal to me. It's like any other Kailh box switch top, I guess. So it's really the bottom that's special. Before I put this back together, I'll just give you another look at this bottom. This to me is what's really cool, is these bottoms here. I've never seen something like this before. You got your completely transparent box switch. You can see the inner workings of the leaf. That's pretty cool. And they have PCB mount pegs. So that I think is exciting. I'm gonna build maybe some kind of plateless build with these. I don't know yet. That would be fun. But also worth mentioning that they have the green little nub thing. You know, some switches have the brown nub and some have the green. Like this, for example, this one has the brown nub. This is from the Hakko switch. The green nub is more rounded. So I'm actually glad to see that this one has the green nub, because oh, sorry, the one with the brown, yeah, the brown nub is in Royals too, by the way. But I'm happy to see that this switch has the little green nub, because I think it's more rounded instead of being triangular. At least that's what I remember. I don't have my USB microscope out right now, but maybe we can see here on the camera. You know, I take that back. They both look triangular, so maybe they just changed the color. Anyway, that's fine. at one point they used to have a brown nub that was triangular, and they used to have and then a green one that was more like a half circle profile. But maybe they moved away from that. So I just want to see how a Hakko Royal Crystal basically switch would feel. Because if I use these in a build, that's probably what I'll do, is I'll probably swap in Hakko stems, because I'm not a big fan of the sharp tactility. I think the rounded is more enjoyable for my taste. And while I've got them apart, I'll also lube them. So something like 205G0 maybe. Now, as usual, you got no switch top wobble because of the latch style top. Let's compare the Hakko version that I've just created, the Franken Switch Hakko version, to the normal version. That's funny. They don't feel a heck of a lot different. Not as different as I thought they would. Wow, crazy. You know, the Hakko feels actually more tactile, but that might be because I don't think the Hakko stem had as much factory lube on it. But yeah, that's interesting. If I feel really ambitious, I might go to the trouble of leaf swapping these, because I don't really want the super tactility, actually. So I might put like the I might go to a lot of trouble and swap the Hakko leaves and the Hakko stems in here, and basically just make them into Hakko, and put lighter springs, make them into Hakko violets, only with they'd be Hakko violets with a clear PCB mount bottom. So I might do that. Yeah, that's really tactile. With the Hakko stem, it feels even more tactile. That's cool. Well, not a lot to say about these switches, really. They feel really smooth. And, oh, what about sound? Let me put this one back the way it was. And I'll do a little quick sound test. So these are pretty cool. If you like strong tactility, these are very tactile. So Kailh is really really gone for the intense tactility here, and I guess that makes sense, because that's what the V2 Zelios, for example, have done, and this switch feels to me, it kind of feels like it's Kailh's answer to Zelios, because they got the clear housing and everything, and super tactile. So if Kailh wanted to make a switch to compete with Zelios, this would be kind of a logical choice. because I don't have anything else this anywhere near this tactile, you know, in a besides box. I'm saying like Kailh doesn't have like an MX style switch that's super tactile. So if they want to compete in the maximum tactility world with the V2 Zelios, they then pretty much have to go with what they did on the Royals with the box switch with like a super stiff leaf. So in case you didn't know, if you're interested, what they did with Royals to make them super tactile, if you haven't heard, is they used a metal leaf that was a little bit like thicker. It was, I think it was, I want to say 1/10 of a millimeter thicker, and so it was also stiffer. And so when the leaf presses harder against the stem, the tactility is increased. So that's how they achieved super tactility on the box Royals. So let me just take one of these. So on this keyboard, my F key and my G key sound pretty similar. So I'll put, just for like basis of comparison, I'll put a Royal right here on the G key spot, and I'll put one of these box crystals. Sorry, on the H. My G and my H sound pretty similar on this keyboard. So I'll put the G key, that will be the box crystal, and the H key will be the box Royal. Pretty much no wobble, which is typical for box switches. And the rest of these switches, by the way, are Gateron yellows. Well, that's interesting. Actually, that's not what I expected. So typically, it seems like when you have the switches with the clear housings, like the Telios, for example, and you compare them to the switches with the black housings, it seems like usually the black housings sound better. Usually you hear more high-pitched noise from the clear housings. But I seem to be getting the opposite result when I compare, although the Royal doesn't have a black housing, it has a white housing, but it's not the clear housing, is my point. But compared to the regular Royal box switch housing, the new crystal housing to me sounds lower pitched. Let's listen again. In fact, I want to say it just sounds all around better to me. That's pretty interesting. One thing I can tell you though, just like with most switches, right away I can say that these are going to need some lube on the springs for sure. But that's true for most switches. Most switches have springs that'll ping a little bit. So job number one on these, I think, is going to be lube those springs, because that spring is singing. But that's typical. Nothing to worry about. Nothing unusual. I'll just lube the springs while I have them apart. I'm certainly having a hard time getting this switch out of the plate. I'm not sure why that is. It might be a little harder to remove Let's see, try again. Oh man, yeah, harder than usual to remove from the plate for sure. Wonder why that is. Wonder if that's going to be a consistent thing. Hope not. Hope that's not a pattern of how they're all going to be. Get this out of the way here. Yeah, maybe it's a different plastic doing it. Well, they definitely need lubed springs, and when I take them apart, I'll lube the entire switch. I'm a little curious how they sound even in stock form. So I think, let's see, X30. I think I just have enough time to do a typing test if I hurry. I wonder if these will catch on. It's not every day you see a new switch on the market, and these are not exactly completely new switch, but something new for Kailh. They've never had PCB mount box switches before now. So not an all-new switch, but not everything is new about this switch. You know, the stem obviously looks like the same thing as they used in the Royals, only this time the plastic's white instead of purple. I wonder if there's any concern here about the stiff relief that they're using, because I thought that was for specifically novel keys for the Royals switches. So I didn't know they were going to use that stiff relief in other switches. And I wonder if Mike knew that from novel keys. So I'll have to, it'll be interesting to ask him about that and see if novel keys was aware of these switches, and if they had to get permission to use the stiff relief, or see, I don't know. You know, I don't know how all that works. I don't know if Mike owns that stiff relief, because if you think about it, what's the difference between these and Royals? They've got the clear bottom and the PCB mount, but the stem looks the same, and the stem looks the same. Tactility is strong, just like Royals. They obviously have that stronger leaf, so kind of makes me wonder, you know, like you could almost call these crystal Royals. So I don't know what the deal is there. Seems like it's always a little fuzzy with these manufacturers and their boutique switches, because the vendor / co-designer works with the manufacturer, works with the factory on having new molds and new tooling and everything made to make a new switch. But obviously the vendor or designer isn't making these molds himself. It's not like he's machining these molds and have, you know, CNC machining them and shipping them to the factory in China. I don't think they do that. I think they're, I don't know all the details, but I would assume they're in kind of more of an advisory role. You know, ask the factory at a high level, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you increase my tactility by maybe changing the shape of the stem or making the leaf stiffer or whatever they want them to do? And the factory, I think it's the factory that actually, the manufacturer that actually has people who will model the new molds and machine them and test them, and then they send the prototypes to the vendor slash designer, and he can pass off on them whether they meet his standards or whatever. It's not like as far as I know, it's not like your Zeal PC or your novel keys are going and 3D designing a new mold and machining it on their own machines and their own machine shop and then sending it. I don't think they do that. So it just makes me wonder what kind of deal they have with the manufacturers, so that the manufacturer doesn't just use whatever improvements that they requested for their product line and just use those same improvements on their own stuff. Because it seems to me like we've already seen that happen with Gateron. You know, they seem to have made improvements that were probably, I mean, I don't know for sure, but probably driven by the requests or requirements of Zeal as the customer. And seems like they've in the past taken those improvements and waterfalled them to their other switches, sort of like. And now this looks like possibly a case of the same kind of thing happening with Kailh, where they have, you know, this increased tactility leaf that they surely did for the Royals specifically, and they've gone ahead and released their own switch that uses the same improvement and doesn't say anything about novel keys on it, and just purely a Kailh product. So I don't know if that's a problem for Mike, or if he cares, or if that's so that makes some interesting switches, I guess. Maybe it makes it easier for me to be able to sell them if I decide not to keep them, because I know people are really interested in high tactility these days. Everybody's always asking me, what's a good Holy Panda alternative, or what's another highly tactile switch? What's the most tactile switch? Which is this switch more tactile, or is that one? Just people seem to be very into. Seems like if you're into tactiles, you want it like a lot of people want just the most tactility. So these definitely deliver on that. These are very tactile, these switches here. But you might think I'm weird, but I was kind of hoping that they wouldn't. When I ordered them, the description didn't say anything about what leaf was used, but they did provide a force curve. And I could see from the force curve that these were going to be very tactile. But I wasn't sure, the way the graph was scaled, I wasn't sure if how sharp that tactility was, and if it was going to be, because the graph that they had might have been kind of smoothed over. I don't know if it was a real graph or if it was just kind of an artist's rendition, because their graph looked really smooth compared to force curves that I've seen of actual measurements taken on Box Royals, where on the Box Royal the force curve looks even sharper and more drastic and also less like mathematically perfect. It's not like this this really regular looking curve. It's got like jagged edges here and irregularities and stuff, like almost like a double tactile event. And so it's, you know, it looks like it's a real force curve in real life. And the one that Kailh shared with me on their website, where they were selling these switches, looked more like a fantasy version of the you know, a fictional improvement of the force curve. Like, this is what kind of like the ideal version of this force curve looks like, or something like that. It didn't look like a real force curve to me. I've seen enough force curves to know that. But Well, these fit really tight. I'm not going to have any wobble here, that's for sure. The only wobble is my monitor wobbling around. I need to get a better monitor stand. Better monitor mount. Maybe mount it to the wall or something. When I'm working on my desk, if I just move the desk a little bit, my monitor starts to kind of wobble around and sway. So fortunately you don't get to see that on the stream, so shouldn't disrupt anyone. I'm liking the feel of the plastic that they use so far. And the switch, yeah, it's nice and smooth. It's kind of a softness to it. Seems really nice. I think they're onto something here. These are going to be really nice lower housings for them, I think. I hope they have more switches planned with these. These are a little bit expensive, so I hope if they start mass producing these, making more of them, that they'll have a more reasonable price. Because these, I mean, these are as expensive as, these were every bit as expensive as V2 Zelios. Maybe even more expensive. I haven't looked at the price lately of the V2 Zelios. So, but these are a new switch. I don't think anyone has them yet. So there's something kind of rare and special I wanted to check out. Keep it interesting. I think it'd be really cool though to do a build with these that can really show them off. So I'm thinking about, I might put these in, I'm going to be building a Lubricante pretty soon. And that keyboard actually is all clear acrylic, and then it has a white PCB. So since these switches are fully clear, except the stem is white, but you know, since the switch housing is clear, I think that would look pretty darn cool in a clear keyboard. So I might put these in that build, that Lubricante build. So if you haven't heard of the Lubricante, it means lobster, I guess. I guess it's a type of lobster, or it means lobster in Spanish. It either means lobster or it means a specific type of lobster. I'm not sure which, but it's a lobster. And in Spanish. And the Lubricante keyboard is a layered acrylic keyboard that uses the layout of a TGR Alice, I guess. Wait, Alice? Is that the one that's ergo? It's like a angled ergo layout. So the Lubricante uses that layout, only it's layered acrylic and a lot cheaper. Kind of cool. So I'm going to be building one of those very soon. I think they finally shipped, so it should be here any day now, actually. It's actually overdue. Should have been here by now. So if you want to see one of my streams now in 4K, because now I'm streaming in 4K now, so it's kind of a fun project getting that set up. If you want to see one of my streams of building a keyboard, that should be coming very soon, in the near future. I'm also going to have a new microphone in time for my next build, so the sound quality will be better. That's fun. Something weird going on with my face camera here. I think the frame rate's kind of low a little bit. Who's calling me? I'm gonna have to call him back because I'm busy. Gotta get this done. So by the way, just a little plug for Gateron yellow switches. Gateron yellows are just a great switch, and they're not expensive. If you like linears, and if you haven't tried Gateron yellows, you really need to. They're just a really smooth. The weighting of them is just the way I like it. They sound good, they feel good. The spring is a little bit longer than Cherry MX spring, I think, or longer than, I forget, longer than the springs you buy from Sprit is what I know for sure. But anyway, they have a little bit longer spring for more preload, which gives them a flatter force line. So just really nice switches if you are into linears. Let's do a typing test here. Let's see how they sound. I'll move the microphone a little bit closer. Okay, maybe not that close, but that's probably good. Those sound quite pleasant to me. I'm impressed. Let me just try something real quick with this face camera though. It's all choppy. Let me just try one thing to see if it's see if it clears up the issue. Still choppy. I'll have to figure out what's going on with my camera here. Oh well. But yeah, this I'm actually really pleasantly surprised with the way these switches sound. I didn't have high expectations, but I actually think they sound really good. They're a little bit muted. They're quieter than the Gat Yellows, which I love, by the way, but these are actually a little bit quieter, and these are quieter than... Oh, is the mic louder? Huh. Is it like super loud? Let me see something here. I wonder what's wrong. Check something here. That's weird. I wonder what I did. Yeah, I'm having some instability right now with this OBS that I'm using. I'm not sure what the problem is. It's yeah, something's not quite right. So I might have accidentally increased the gain, but I think that's a good stopping point. I'll make a new typing test when I know that the recording setup's working, because I'm not sure if it's working right now. It seems like there might be something wrong with the microphone. So thanks for watching, and I will post a new typing test once I figure out my technical difficulties here, and we'll see you later. Let's say something here.